Jesus' death. Throughout the Old Testament, people anticipated and prophets told about the coming Messiah. Then in the New Testament, Jesus fulfilled those prophecies. When Jewish leaders arrested Jesus, they took him to the high priest's house, and Peter followed. While the high priest questioned Jesus, Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times. When Peter realized the significance of what he had done, he wept. Meanwhile, the men guarding Jesus mocked him and beat him. Mark chapter 15, verse 11 says, "But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have Pilate release Barabbas instead." The Jewish crowd chose a criminal to go free and wanted Jesus to die. The Roman rulers gave the Jewish leaders what they wanted and allowed them to crucify Jesus. Luke chapter 23, 32 through 38. 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. When they came to a place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing." And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others. Let him save himself, if he is God's Messiah, the chosen one." The soldiers also came up and mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar and said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." There was a written notice above him which read, "This is the King of the Jews." Soldiers were selfishly dividing up Jesus' garments or clothes and mocking Jesus as the King of the Jews. They thought that Jesus was an ordinary man and did not understand that Jesus truly is the King of all creation. Sin caused spiritual separation between God and people. The punishment for sin is death, says Romans 6:23. And Jesus willingly took this punishment for all people. Even when he was suffering on the cross, Jesus prayed that God would forgive the people who wanted him to die. Because of Jesus' selfless love, salvation came to the world. People do not have to be separated from God anymore. Luke chapter 23, verses 39 through 43 say, "One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. 'Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us.' But the other criminal rebuked him. 'Don't you fear God?' he said, 'since you are under the same sentence. We are punished justly for what we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong.' Then he said, 'Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom.' Jesus answered him, 'Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise.'" One of the 2 criminals being crucified besides Jesus joined in with making fun of him. But the criminal on the other side of Jesus understood that Jesus had done nothing wrong. Jesus showed his love by promising this man that he would have eternal life. Death came into the world because Adam sinned, but eternal life comes because of Jesus' sacrifice. 1 Corinthians 15:21 through 22. The day that Jesus died on the cross is most frequently called Good Friday. Salvation is only through Jesus. Many people believe that they can enter heaven by being good or doing good works, but the Bible teaches us that out of love, God provided a way for people to enter heaven when he sent his Son, Jesus, to die for everyone's sin. The only way to salvation is by accepting Jesus. John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have eternal life." People on their own can do nothing to remove their separation from God and be able to go to heaven. But because Jesus is fulfilling his promise from scriptures, believers can have forgiveness of sin, live an abundant life here on earth, and live eternally with him by believing that he died on the cross for their sins. One day we will meet Jesus in heaven.